I'd love it if you subscribe to the channel and like this video. My goal is to reach the first 1,000 subscribers. Thank you and enjoy. Before I tell you what happened, here's why this story matters. Most men don't lose their marriages in one big explosion. They lose them in tiny public jokes, in quiet assumptions, in the way a partner starts talking like you're a service plan instead of a person. And the dangerous part is how normal it can sound if you've been trained to be the bigger man. This story is about spotting the moment respect gets traded for convenience, and what to do when someone tries to lock that new role in front of witnesses. Not with yelling, not with begging, with calm, adult moves, boundaries, logistics, and removing access. If you've ever felt your value getting reduced to what you provide, pay attention to the order of actions here. The order is the whole point. Lauren tapped her fork against her wine glass, like she was about to announce a charity raffle. The Cedar Room in Dallas was the kind of place where the lighting made everyone look slightly richer than they really were. White tablecloth, low voices, the soft clink of expensive confidence. Her parents, Richard and Susan, sat across from us like they owned the night. Lauren smiled at the table. Not at me. At the table. "Can I say something?" she asked, loud enough that the couple next to us glanced over. I kept cutting my steak. I knew that tone. That I'm about to perform tone. Richard leaned back with the lazy grin of a man who liked watching people squirm. Susan folded her hands like she was ready for a verdict. Lauren lifted her glass. "To Mark." I didn't look up yet. I just listened. "You always were convenient, Mark," she said, and the word landed like a receipt slapped on a counter. Comfort. Benefit. That's our arrangement. That's our union. Not whispered. Not private. Clear. Deliberate. For the whole table. For the nearby tables, too, if they were bored enough. Richard clapped. A single slow clap that turned into two, then stopped like he'd made his point. Susan nodded once, neat and satisfied, like this was a toast at a business closing. I took another bite. Chewed. Swallowed. Set my knife down carefully. Lauren watched me the way people watch a safe. They're sure they know the combination, too. I wiped my mouth with a napkin, slow. Then I looked at her. "I'm going to finish my steak," I said, calm enough to irritate her. "Then I'm going to comment on what you just said." Her smile tightened. "Mark, I'm not done." I cut in, still polite. I glanced at Richard, then Susan. "And just so we're all clear, this isn't among friends. This is among witnesses." Richard's eyebrows lifted like that amused him. "Witnesses," he repeated, as if tasting the word. Lauren laughed lightly. "Oh my God. You're being dramatic." I picked up my fork again. "No, I'm being accurate." She leaned toward me. It was a joke. I didn't rush. I didn't raise my voice. I finished another bite like I had all the time in Texas. Then I set the fork down again. "Let's treat it like a business statement," I said, "since that's what you just made it." Susan's chin tipped up a fraction. "Mark, honey, don't do this here." "Here is exactly where it belongs," I replied, still even, because it was said here. Lauren rolled her eyes. "Okay, Mr. CEO, go ahead. Present your little slideshow." I gave her a small smile. "You won't like the numbers." Richard snorted. "This ought to be good." I kept my hands on the table, open, relaxed, like I was about to sign a document. "Last quarter," I said, "your gallery was about to stall because suppliers weren't getting paid. I covered just under 40,000 to keep it moving." Lauren's smile blinked. Just once. Susan's eyes flickered. Fast, like she didn't love hearing actual amounts out loud. I continued. "I paid for the new sign installation. I paid the framer. I paid the ad run you told everyone was a great strategy shift." Lauren's voice sharpened. "That's not how it." "Let me finish," I said, not louder, just final. "I also helped with the repairs at Richard and Susan's house. The contractor called me. Not you. The electrician called me. Not you. And my accountant spent hours cleaning up your family's paperwork, so it didn't turn into a bigger problem." Richard sat up a little. "Hold on. And the key detail," I added, "is that those contractors have my number. Not because they love me, because they were told I'm the one who clears things." Lauren tried to smile again, but it came out crooked. "You're making it sound like I'm helpless." "I'm making it sound like I'm the safety net," I replied, "because that's the role I've been playing." Susan leaned in, voice syrupy. "Mark, families help each other. That's normal." "I agree," I said. What's not normal is announcing it like I'm an appliance you keep in the kitchen. Press button. Get comfort. Lauren let out a breathy laugh, like she couldn't believe I was still speaking. You were so serious. It was a toast. It's not a joke if you humiliate me to my face in public, I said, still controlled. I'm not an ATM. I'm not a convenient button you push. Richard's smile faded. You're taking this personally. I'm a person, I said, and that landed harder than yelling ever could. Lauren's eyes narrowed. So what? You going to punish me? I reached into my jacket and pulled out a business card. Plain, clean, my contact info. I placed it on the table between Lauren and her parents. This is my number, I said, looking at Richard and Susan now. If you have business matters, things you expect me to cover, those requests go through me directly in writing. Not through Lauren. Not through hints. Not through dinner theater. Lauren stared at the card like it offended her. And for us, I added, turning back to my wife, the conversation about respect happens on a schedule, not in front of an audience. Susan's lips pressed together. Mark, the evening is finished, I said. I stood, put my napkin down, and nodded once. Enjoy the rest of your dinner. Lauren's voice dropped low, sharp. Sit down. You're embarrassing me. I looked at her, calm enough to be cruel without trying. No, you did that. I just declined to participate. I walked out without rushing. No scene, no slamming, just a door opening, my steps steady, and the quiet realization behind me that their script had a missing page. If I'd known where it was headed, I would have ordered dessert just to watch their faces longer. In the car, I didn't blast music. I didn't call anyone to vent. I just drove, hand steady, mind cleaner than it had been in months. Two signals were loud in my head. One, she chose public. That meant she was trying to lock my role in place with witnesses. Two, her parents didn't correct her. They approved, which meant this wasn't a slip. It was a family culture. By the time I pulled into the driveway, I'd already decided something that surprised even me. If that was their truth, then the next chapter would be written in my rules. The next morning, Lauren came into the kitchen like nothing had happened. Hair perfect, coffee in hand, phone already in her palm like a second heartbeat. She kissed the air near my cheek. Not me, the air. Morning, she said. I didn't look up from the mug I was holding. We're not doing fake normal. Her eyes flicked up. Mark, don't start. I'm not starting, I replied. You started last night with a toast. She sighed like I was a stubborn client. It was dinner. My parents. You know how they are. I know exactly how they are, I said. And I know how you were. Lauren leaned on the counter. Okay, fine. Maybe I went too far. Maybe, I repeated and let the words sit there like a bad smell. She watched me, waiting for me to accept the half apology like a tip. I set my mug down. I'm going to ask you a direct question. Answer it directly. Her shoulders stiffened. Okay, do you love me? I said. Or do you love what I provide? Lauren's mouth opened slightly, then closed. Her eyes shifted to the side like she was reading a menu. That's a complicated question, she said. No, Utopia. It's a simple question with an inconvenient answer. She frowned. You always do this. You turn everything into a test. You turned our marriage into a contract, I said. I'm just asking what product I am. Lauren scoffed. You're being ridiculous. Try again, I told her. She snapped, suddenly annoyed. I love our life. I love what we built. Is that not enough? There it was. Not, I love you. Not even close. Just a lifestyle like I was a nice kitchen upgrade. I nodded once, as if confirming a number on a spreadsheet. Lauren saw the nod and panicked a little. Mark, don't twist my words. I'm not twisting anything, I said. I'm hearing you clearly for the first time. Her phone buzzed. She glanced down fast, thumb moving. She tried to hide it by turning slightly. You busy? I asked. It's nothing, she said too quickly. Gallery stuff. I leaned back in my chair. Here's what's going to happen. Starting today, we separate what's US and what's your business. She froze. What does that mean? It means you stop treating my resources like an extension cord you drag around the house, I replied. And it means you stop speaking about me like I'm equipment. Lauren's tone turned sugary again. Mark, come on. Let's not overreact. We can reset. I looked at her. Reset is what people say when they want the benefits back without changing the behavior. Her face hardened. So what are you going to do? Lock me out of my own life? I stood. I'm going to lock myself out of being used. I left the kitchen and grabbed my keys. Lauren followed me toward the garage. Where are you going? To work, I said, to handle what I should have handled earlier. You're making this bigger than it is, she called after me. I opened the car door. No, Loudon. You made it clear what it is. I'm just responding like an adult. I drove straight to Northline Systems. My company, my headache, my responsibility. The building was quiet that early. Just the hum of printers, the smell of fresh coffee, and the steady rhythm of people who didn't care about my personal drama. That's why I liked it. My operations director, Gina, was already in her office. Gina was sharp, mid-40s, the kind of woman who could smell nonsense from a different zip code. She glanced up when I walked in. You're early. That's either great news or terrible news. Terrible for someone, I said. Not for us. She motioned to the chair. Talk. Saturday, starting today, any personal access tied to Lauren needs to be removed. Gina didn't blink. Corporate card? Yes, I said. All link cards. Any login she has. Any vendor accounts tied to our corporate profile. Disconnect it. Gina nodded, already typing. And the gallery expenses? Those stop going through us, I replied. If it's her business, it gets billed to her business. Gina glanced up. That's going to trigger noise. I'm counting on it, I said. Noise is useful. It tells you where the leaks are. Gina's mouth twitched. Okay, anything else? Yes, I said. Tyler. Her fingers paused. Her brother. My employee, I corrected. Pull his discipline file. Gina's expression went flat. You sure you want to do that today? I'm sure I should have done it months ago, I replied. She opened a folder on her screen. He's late. He's sloppy. He's been warned. And he's been protected, I said. Because family. That ends. Gina leaned back. We do it clean. By the book. Exactly, I replied. No emotion. Just standards. She nodded once. I'll have HR ready. I stood to leave. Gina called after me. Mark. I paused at the door. She looked at me with that direct, no-fluff stare. This isn't about the money, is it? I gave her a thin smile. It's never about the money. Money just reveals who thinks you're supposed to pay. When I got home that evening, Lauren was already waiting in the living room, not sitting casually, placed, like she'd rehearsed the angle. Her phone was in her hand again. Always the phone. We need to talk, she said. I set my keys down. You can start, but keep it simple. She stood, voice controlled. My deposit is due for the event space. I need the login for the corporate card. Today. No, how are you? No, about last night. Straight to access. I nodded. No. Her eyes flashed. Excuse me. Access is closed, I said. Pay your business expenses with your business. Lauren took a step closer. Mark, don't be petty. I looked at her calm. Petty is acting sweet while you reach for my wallet. This is logistics. She lifted her chin. So you're punishing me. I'm correcting a mistake, he replied. I blurred lines. You took advantage of that blur. Lauren's voice rose. I did not take advantage. I'm your wife. You were my wife last night when you called me convenient like a subscription service, I said. So don't use the title as a crowbar. She stared at me like I'd slapped her with a document. Then she tried another angle. Fine, I'll talk to your mother. She'll tell you you're being unreasonable. I gave her a small shrug. Talk to whoever you want. The process is already moving. That word, process, made her blink. She didn't like words she couldn't charm. She softened her face, tried the first illusion, a careful little version of warmth. Mark, she said quieter, I was wrong to say it like that. My parents, my dad especially, he brings out the worst in me. I didn't mean to hurt you. It was almost convincing. Almost. I tilted my head. You didn't mean to hurt me. You meant to define me. Her eyes darted. That's not fair. I'm not asking for fair, I said. I'm enforcing respectful. She stepped closer, reaching for my arm. Can we just let it go? We've been stressed. I can do better. I moved my arm away without drama. Do better then. Start with living inside your own numbers. Her jaw tightened. You're acting like I'm some stranger. You acted like I was an asset, I replied. Strangers don't get access either. She turned away sharply, walking toward the hallway like she was ending the conversation. Right before she disappeared, she tossed back, "You're going to regret this." I answered without raising my voice. "No, I'm going to remember it." 2 days later, Tyler showed up at Northline Systems like he still had immunity. He walked in loud, confident, the way mediocre men walk when they think someone else will cover the consequences. He leaned into my office doorway without knocking. "So I hear you're on some power trip." Gina was in my office too, arms crossed, watching him like he was a stain. I didn't look up from the paperwork. "Close the door." Tyler laughed. "No, we're family. We don't do close the door." I finally looked up. "We're not family here. Here you're an employee." "Actually, here you were an employee." His smile dropped. "What?" Gina slid a folder across my desk. "HR paperwork. Clean. Brupe." I tapped it lightly. "You've been warned. You've been late. You've ignored procedures. You've leaned on my name. That ends today." Tyler's face reddened. "This is because of Lauren. You're trying to scare her." "This is because of you," I corrected. "Lauren doesn't get to rent space in my company for relatives who don't earn it." He stepped forward. "You can't do this. She'll lose it." Gina's voice cut in, calm and deadly. "He can, and he is." Tyler looked at Gina like he couldn't believe a woman was shutting him down. Then he looked back at me. "Man, you're really going to do this?" I leaned back. "You ever notice how you only call me man when you want something?" He opened his mouth, then closed it. He had nothing. I stood and opened my office door wider. "Gina will walk you out." Tyler pointed at me. "This is going to blow up in your face." I nodded once. "Maybe, but it won't blow up my payroll anymore." That night, Lauren didn't come home sweet. She came home sharp. She threw her purse on the couch like it offended her. "You fire my brother," she said. "I ended an employment situation." I corrected. She paced. "You're unraveling everything." "No," I said. "I'm separating what never should have been blended." Lauren spun toward me. "You think you're so tough right now. But you're attached, Mark. You're not going anywhere." I watched her for a moment. "That confidence is going to age badly." She laughed, bitter. "You need me. You like being the hero." I nodded slowly. "I like being respected. And you're out of inventory." She stared, then grabbed her phone again. Another quick glance. Another quick thumb movement. I didn't ask this time. I just noted it. Same way you note a smoke alarm chirping. It means something's failing. The weekend after that, we went to a party in Highland Park. One of those expensive homes with too much glass and not enough warmth. We were invited by a couple we knew through local business circles. The husband, Derek, had that "I sell something expensive" energy. His wife, Naomi, had a polite smile that stayed at a safe distance from her eyes. Lauren insisted we go. Insisted. "It'll be good for us," she said. "Fresh air. Friends." I almost laughed. She didn't want friends. She wanted witnesses. Again, in the driveway, before we even went inside, Lauren adjusted my collar like I was a mannequin. "Be normal," she whispered. I gave her a small smile. "I'm extremely normal." That's the problem. Inside, the house buzzed with low music and high-status conversations. People holding drinks they barely touched. People laughing a little too loud to prove they were fine. Lauren moved fast, collecting attention like she practiced. She drifted toward a group near the kitchen. 2 women, 1 guy, and Naomi listening politely. I stayed close enough to hear, not close enough to be part of the performance. Lauren laughed, loud and bright. "I mean, I could leave Mark whenever I want." The group chuckled. She kept going. "He's attached. He'd come crawling back. He likes the structure." I run the calendar. More laughter. Someone said, "No way." Lauren lifted her glass. "Way. That wasn't a slip. That was a claim. A public stamp. The kind you make when you're building a narrative." I watched Naomi's face tighten slightly. Naomi wasn't laughing. Naomi was filing it away. Derek grinned like it was entertainment. I stepped back, pulled my phone out, and walked toward a quieter hallway. My pulse wasn't racing. My hands didn't shake. I made 1 call. Evan answered on the 2nd ring. Evan was the kind of attorney who didn't waste words. He sounded like a man who'd seen enough human behavior to stop being impressed by it. "Mark," he said, "this is either urgent or you're bored." "Urgent," I replied. "Start the process." "Documents." "From today." A beat of silence. "Okay. You sure?" "I'm sure," I said. "And I want communication routed properly. No chaos." Understood, Evans said. I'll send you what I need. I hung up and walked back toward the kitchen group like I was returning from the restroom. Lauren was still holding court. I stepped in, not smiling, not angry, just present. Lauren's eyes flicked to me. Her smile tried to hold. I looked at the group and asked calmly, "What's the joke?" The laughter died fast. People suddenly found their drinks fascinating. Lauren's smile faltered. "Mark." "No," I said, still polite. "I'm asking. What's funny about telling people you can drop me anytime and I'll beg?" Derek cleared his throat. "Hey man, it's just..." Lauren cut in sharp. "It's a joke. You're doing that thing again." I nodded slowly. "Okay, then here's a real statement." Lauren's eyes widened slightly. She felt it coming. "The separation process starts today," I said clearly, to the group, to the room, to the witnesses she collected. "From this point forward, communication goes through representatives. I'm not doing public disrespect as a hobby." Lauren hissed under her breath. "You're humiliating me." I looked at her. "You did that." I just redirected the consequences. Naomi's mouth parted slightly. She didn't look shocked. She looked like a woman watching a prediction come true. Lauren tried to grab my arm. "Mark, stop." I stepped back. "Calm. No janking. No drama." I nodded at the group. "Enjoy the party." Then I left. Outside, the night air felt cleaner than the air in that glass house. I sat in my car for a moment before driving off, not because I was lost, but because I wanted to make sure my next move stayed controlled. When I got home later, Lauren wasn't there. She came in after midnight, moving carefully like she expected me to be asleep. I was on the couch, reading, like a man who didn't fear his own house. She stopped when she saw me. "So you really did that?" "Yes," I said. Her voice shifted into that softer tone again. "Mark, you blindsided me." I raised an eyebrow. "You announced my value like a coupon code. Publicly. Twice. Don't talk to me about surprise." She swallowed. "My parents are furious." I nodded. "They can be furious in their own budget." The next morning, Richard called me. I answered on speaker while making coffee. "No secrecy. No tensión." Richard didn't say hello. "What the hell are you doing?" he snapped. I sipped my coffee. "Good morning to you too." "You're cutting things off," he said. "Cards. Payments. Vendors are calling Susan." This is irresponsible." I smiled slightly. "No, Richard. What's irresponsible is building your lifestyle on someone else's spine and calling it family." Susan's voice came on the line, calmer but loaded. "Mark, we've always supported you and Lauren. We've always been there." I nodded, even though they couldn't see it. "Being there doesn't mean sending me the bill." Richard barked. "You owe us decency." I set my mug down. "I owe myself clarity. Plan your life on your income. That's the whole message." Susan tried the sweet tone. "Mark, honey, don't be like this. Lauren is upset. You can fix this." I replied, simple. "I'm not fixing what I didn't break." Richard's voice turned ugly. "You're throwing away your marriage over a comment." I corrected him. "I'm ending access over a pattern." Then I ended the call. Later that day, Tyler showed up at my house like he still thought yelling was a strategy. He banged on the door hard enough to irritate the neighbors. I opened it, stayed in the doorway. I didn't invite him in. He pointed at me. "You think you're a big man now." I looked at him. "I think you're unemployed." He tried to step forward. I held my palm up, flat, calm. "Don't," I said. Tyler laughed, but it sounded nervous. "Lauren's going to destroy you." I tilted my head. If she could, she would have already. All she ever had was access. He sneered. "You're cold." I nodded. "I'm consistent." Tyler took a step back, glanced past me into the house like he expected to see Lauren hiding behind a curtain. I kept my voice even. "Leave. If you come back, you'll meet someone who doesn't discuss it." Tyler stared, then spat. "This isn't over." I smiled slightly. "For you? It's already done." He left. The neighbor across the street, an older guy named Paul who always watered his lawn like it was a mission, gave me a look that said, "You okay?" I gave him a small nod. Paul nodded back. No words, just witness. That evening, Lauren tried the second illusion, bigger this time. I came home to candles, a set table, the good plates, a playlist that tried to sell nostalgia like it was a product. Lauren stood by the counter in a dress she knew I liked. She smiled like she'd found the cheat code to my brain. I cooked, she said softly. I looked at the table. Interesting. She stepped closer, carefully. I want us back. I want to fix it. I set my keys down. Fix what exactly? She blinked. Us. I nodded. That's a nice word. Try specifics. Lauren's smile tightened. I'll stop involving my parents. I'll stop talking about business. I'll stop. Whatever you want. I just want you to come back to me. I studied her face. Her eyes were bright, but not with emotion. With urgency. Like a person trying to stop a leak before the ceiling collapses. Do you want me? I asked. Or do you want the structure back? She looked offended. Mark, why you keep doing that? Because you keep not answering, I replied. She reached for my hand. I'm here. I'm trying. I let her touch my fingers for a second, then pulled back gently. Try would be respecting the separation of resources without fighting it. Her jaw clenched for half a second before she smoothed it. I'm not fighting. I'm adjusting. Sure, I said. And yet your brother called me 3 times today from a blocked number. Her eyes widened. I didn't. Lauren, I interrupted. Not harsh, just precise. Don't lie poorly. It's insulting. She exhaled, then tried to pivot. Let's eat. Let's have one nice night. He said. Not because I believed her. Because I wanted to watch. Dinner tasted fine. The conversation was staged. She laughed at my jokes too quickly. She touched my arm at predictable moments. It felt like a sales pitch built from our memories. Then her phone buzzed again. She flipped it face down fast. I looked at the phone, then at her. You don't have to hide it. I already know the pattern. Her eyes flashed. You're paranoid. I smiled slightly. No, I'm observant. There's a difference. She pushed her chair back hard. You're impossible right now. I nodded. Good. Impossible men don't get used. She stared at me, breathing steady but eyes sharp. If you keep this up, you're going to end up alone. I leaned back. If I keep this up, I'll end up respected. Alone is a side detail. Lauren didn't sleep much that night. I could hear her moving around, whispering into her phone in the hallway, stepping outside to make calls. I didn't confront. I didn't chase. I just made another decision. I hired Darren Holt. Darren was a former cop turned private investigator. Not a movie character. Just a practical guy with a practical face and a voice that didn't dramatize anything. We met in a quiet diner the next day. He didn't wear a trench coat. He wore a clean button-down and the expression of a man who'd heard every excuse people could invent. He listened while I explained the situation. He didn't interrupt. When I finished, he nodded once. You're not asking me to guess. You're asking me to confirm. Exactly, I said. He sipped his coffee. I'll bring you facts. Facts either calm you down or push you forward. Either way, they're useful. 3 days later, Darren texted me. Got something. Meet me. We met in his office. Small, plain, no nonsense. He slid his phone across the desk. Audio, he said. Clear enough. I put in earbuds, pressed play, and listened. Lauren's voice came through, bright and casual, like she was discussing a weekend plan. Then the man's voice, older than I expected. Smooth. Impatient. He said something about timing. Lauren replied, and I felt my face stay calm while something inside me went very still. Mark's reliable, she said. Boring, but reliable. The man asked why she was still there. Lauren laughed lightly. Later. I'll leave later. I just need him to close a couple more things. He's good for that. The man pushed again. Lauren answered without hesitation. Not yet. I need the comfort while I set up the next step. Don't start acting needy. I paused the audio and sat there for a second. Darren watched me. You okay? I nodded once. I'm clear. He leaned back. You want more? No, I said. That's enough. That's a full sentence. I paid Darren and left. On the drive home, I wasn't angry. I wasn't shaking. I felt something better than anger. Final. At home, Lauren was in the kitchen, humming lightly like she was practicing normal again. She looked up when I walked in and smiled. Hey, she said. How was your day? I didn't answer. I walked past her, set my phone on the counter, and connected it to the speaker. Lauren's smile faltered. What are you doing? I hit play. Her own voice filled the kitchen. Clear, casual, cruel in its practicality. Lauren's face drained in real time. She reached out like she could grab the sound and shove it back into the phone. Mark, stop. I let it play long enough for the key lines to land. Then I turned it off. Lauren swallowed hard. That's out of context. I looked at her. It's a complete thought. There's no context that saves it. She tried to laugh. It came out broken. So you're spying now? That's your move. No, I said. My move was listening to what you've been showing me for months. Lauren's eyes went sharp again, desperate. You're throwing everything away over a conversation. I nodded. I'm finishing what I started the day you toasted my convenience. She stepped closer, voice lower. Mark, we can fix this. I can explain it. I held up my hand. Not aggressive. Just done. I'm not taking explanations from someone who manages people like resources. Her eyes glistened, and for a half second, she looked almost human. Then she asked the only question that mattered. What are you going to do? She whispered. I met her gaze. I'm going to complete the process. I pulled out my phone and texted Evan one line. Proceed. Lauren watched me type it, and her face changed. Not sadness. Panic. Like a person watching a door close that they assumed would stay open forever. Mark, she said, voice shaking, don't do this. I didn't argue. I didn't insult her. I didn't raise my voice. I walked to the closet and pulled out 2 suitcases. Lauren followed me, talking faster now. Where are you going? You can't just leave. This is our house. I zipped the first suitcase halfway. It's a shared space, and I'm removing myself from it. She tried to block the doorway. So that's it? You're just walking out. I looked at her. You walked out first. You just left your body here while you did it. She flinched. That's not fair. I shrugged lightly. Fair isn't the goal. Respect was. You spent it. I took the suitcases to the car. Lauren stood in the driveway, barefoot, hugging herself like she wanted to look wounded. She called after me, voice cracking. You're going to regret this. I paused at the driver's door and looked back at her. No, I said. I'm going to recover from it. Then I got in and drove away. Over the next weeks, the noise came in waves. Richard left voicemails that sounded like demands. Susan sent long messages with soft words and sharp expectations. Tyler tried to circle back with, "Can we talk?" Like he hadn't just threatened me at my own door. I didn't engage in chaos. I kept everything routed properly. Short, clean, controlled. Lauren tried different versions of herself. Sad Lauren, sweet Lauren, angry Lauren, romantic Lauren. None of them changed the facts. And that was the point. Facts don't care about tone. A few months later, my life looked quieter and better. I moved into a modern place closer to the office. No tension in the walls. No staged dinners. Just clean space and clean mornings. Northline systems ran smoother without family drama bleeding into payroll. Gina told me, deadpan, it's amazing how productivity improves when nobody's cousin thinks rules are optional. I started spending weekends with friends I'd neglected. Paul from across the street even invited me to a backyard cookout, and I went. Normal people. Honest laughter. I also met someone new, Claire. Late 40s, direct, warm without being performative. On our third date, she said, I don't need saving. I need consistency. I smiled. That's my favorite request. Lauren, from what I heard through the grapevine, didn't land softly. The gallery had scheduling issues. Vendors stopped extending friendly deadlines. Her parents downsized their plans fast once the quiet support disappeared. And the funniest part, without any jokes at all, was that the same people who praised my convenience suddenly missed my presence. They didn't miss me. They missed the system they thought they controlled. I didn't hate them. I didn't obsess. I didn't chase closure. I just kept living like a man who finally stopped paying for disrespect. And that's the thing nobody tells you. When you remove access, you don't just change your finances. You change the entire room you're standing in. Here's what I took from it, and what I'd tell any man who sees the same pattern starting. First, the moment someone labels you as convenient in public, don't treat it like a mood. Treat it like a policy announcement. Lauren didn't slip. She performed. She chose witnesses. And her parents' approval wasn't an accident. It was confirmation that the role had been discussed, normalized, and expected. My mistake would have been arguing about feelings at the table. The right move was naming facts calmly and ending the night on my terms. Second, watch what they reach for when you draw a boundary. The morning after, Lauren didn't come looking for repair. She came looking for access, logins, deposits, cards. That tells you what the relationship has been reduced to. If I had caved there to keep peace, I would have trained her to escalate harder next time. Instead, I separated resources and removed the family immunity in my company. Adult consequences, not petty games. Third, don't negotiate with fog. When a story keeps changing, joke, stress, you're dramatic, get facts and act. The audio wasn't about humiliation. It was about clarity. The wrong path would have been endless talks, accepting staged romance, and hoping respect returns on its own. Respect doesn't return when access stays open. It returns when standards exist. Comfort is easy to buy. Respect is expensive. Pay for respect. Cancel what treats you like a tool.